in order to help people, you have to heal yourself. But all this time, I wasn't fully healed, but I was helping people. But in the process, I was healing through them as well.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. This is Raina Carrillo with Purpose and Passion. You already know what I'm about, educating, empowering, and teaching awareness. And today I have Ana Ventura. And our topic today is sex trafficking. And she's going to give us the resources. I know I've interviewed one lady that kind of expressed a little story of the situation, but in the stripper world. But there was no resources at the end. So I'm really excited for Ana to be a part of our episode today. And she's with Qualified, which is a nonprofit organization that helps regarding sex trafficking and the resources that they need after the fact, that they need help during the process or after the process. So thank you, Ana, for coming here on Purpose and Passions with Luxe Media.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah. I'm excited. So I want you to, take our viewers down memory lane. Like, where were your parents born and raised, and where were you born and raised, and how was your childhood?
My parents were born in El Salvador. I had a very rough childhood. My dad was abusive, bipolar, and so I've just known trauma like my whole life. And I got into this field because of my past. And so, yeah.
Wow, okay. And so were you born here or from El Salvador as well?
Yes, I was born here. I was born here, yes.
Where did you grow up? Because, LA is big. LA County.
I grew up in West LA.
What part?
Right by Hamilton High School.
So you went to Hamilton?
Yes, I went to Hamilton.
Okay. How was it over there? It
was interesting. I ended up leaving and then being homeschooled. Yeah.
Oh, so was that like in the early 2000s?
In 2008, I had like a drug addiction type situation going on. Yeah.
Okay, so would you say the drug addiction was because of the past of your childhood and everything?
Yeah, definitely.
I like how you're very honest, because not just too long ago we were talking about alcohol and drugs, and how sometimes the people in our communities, Black and brown, and just any other race, when we go through trauma in our household, it's like we suppress ourselves with drugs or alcohol.
Yes.
And then we have, I think it was in the late 2000s where I started to notice kids cutting themselves and then wearing socks to kind of cover their arms.
Yes.
And I guess because I was weak in my own way, but when it came to like cutting stuff like that, I would look at kids like, man, they're weak-minded. But then I didn't want to pass judgment because I've never been in their situation, or I never knew how it felt to release pain through that, right?
Yeah.
And so having an open mind and just kind of like, okay, well, maybe I didn't experience that trauma, or I didn't deal with it that way. I dealt with it through gang banging and drugs, you know what I mean? And partying. But let me sit here and just listen and be an open ear. And I remember my mom telling me, like, God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason.
Yes. Very true. Yes.
So I'm like, okay. So I love the fact that you were very honest, you know, and I believe people can learn from you as well.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. My first drug, when I started doing drugs, I was 14. I was 14. I was very young. I have a 13-year-old now who I'm like, no, please. Like, and now they're not like before. Drugs are more intense, especially with fentanyl, Tranquil, and benzos. Like, it's definitely, opioids have taken over a lot of our communities, yes.
So in our days, the drugs that our people used to use back in the 90s and early 2000s was weed. Everybody enjoyed weed. But then you had methamphetamine.
Yes.
Then you had Sherm and P-Dogs. A lot of people are like, what the hell is P-Dogs? I'm like, it's laced with bombing fluid.
Yeah.
The stuff that, that they put into dead people's bodies. And so we had a lot of people running down Crenshaw butt naked, So I think about those days and I'm like, wow. But now I see our youth and our young adults and adults with these new drugs coming. They're like zombies because they curl up.
Yeah.
Like I notice when they're walking, they're hunchback. When they're laid out, they're curled up like a fetus.
Yeah.
And it's really scary. It makes me feel like, dang, like this, it looks like zombies. Like, wow, they can't even think no more because their brain is so fried that they're not even the same person they are.
Yeah. I have to carry Narcan with me just because I work in downtown LA, and a lot of the Skid Row, like I see people overdosing and it scares me. And honestly, the other day, not too long ago, I saw a young lady walking and a homeless man hit her in her eye. Yes. And he was gone. Like he was just a totally different person. And when I told the police officer, he was like, people do that in order to get 3 meals a day in jail. And I was like, wow, like
that's crazy. Yeah, well, I hope the current mayor, works a little faster when it comes to the homeless issue, because I know they're creating laws. It's not, it hasn't passed yet, but they're creating laws to where they're trying to have a conservatorship where the family can be responsible to sign them into rehab. If we continue to do what we're doing, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. Yes. And I feel like when I watch the news to see this man that was homeless and on drugs stabs a youth in the head with gardening supplies, our children shouldn't have to go through that, period. Yeah. So for me, I personally am for family members, signing their loved ones that are homeless so that they can get the special treatment they need to be better. And if they cannot be better, then we know the government, have the funding to continue to keep these individuals in facilities. Yes. Our human beings, our friends, our family, men and women and all of the above, And so for me, I just think it's best way to keep safer streets, because when I saw that youth, a teenager walking from home, and this man literally passed by her. She didn't say anything. She was just a young high school student, innocent, not taunting nobody, just walking, and just to see what he did to her. And she's running with the thing in her head. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's traumatic. Yes. And for somebody with mental illness like that, whether it's due to drugs or just a chemical imbalance in the mind, it needs to be addressed, and it needs to be addressed like as soon as possible. Because when it comes to me, youth are my passion. Yeah. And I truly care for, children in general. I'm a mother of 5, you know what I mean? So I'm That's like, amazing. Wow.
I mean, that you're mother of 5.
I can't believe it.
Honestly, my on a personal note, my brother struggles with addiction too. Yes. And my mother's asked, how can we help him? How can we get him the services? How can we? Yes. And I'm just like, we need to get a conservatorship over him. Yes. And she's like, how do I do that? And so it's also coming from a Latino background. We don't actually know how to do those things. And so there has to be a portal or a policy in place in order for us to like get those type of treatments for addiction, honestly.
I remember in Santa Monica, my Uncle Joe, he was bipolar schizophrenia. And I remember my cousin Eric trying his hardest to help him get into a facility, and he couldn't. So no matter how much he loved his father and how much he wanted to help his dad, if his dad as an adult did not want to go in that facility, he couldn't force him. Yes. So that's the scary part.
I've had issues with that with my brother. I set up the Salvation Army has a drug intervention, and so I've tried sending him numerous times, but he's never showed up for himself.
Yes. Yeah. So
it's definitely a challenge.
Yeah, it is. And that's why, like, when I think about what you do helping the ladies regarding the sex trafficking, like, how did that come about? Like, before the sex trafficking, like, I know you said you had personal trauma, right?
And actually, I had big trauma in 2019. I became a victim of a crime. Okay. And then I just went into a spiral of depression, and I mean deep depression. And my therapist, I was seeing her twice a week, and she was like, hey, I think you would be great at this. Like, just participate, check it out. And I was like, okay, I guess, that mindset of like, do I really want this? And then I went for it and I loved it. And to be honest, I'm living proof that there's more to you than your trauma. So,
yes. And somebody shared with me when I had my first client that was raped by her father.
I'm so
sorry. And I told the girl, I said, I don't know how you feel, but let me share my story as a, as a human. Forget Raina Carrillo, the case manager, but as a human, as a woman. I told her, I was molested by my step grandfather and my grandmother didn't believe me. Yeah. And for me, that was my first sign of rejection. And rejection became a trigger. Yes. You couldn't tell me no. Mm-hmm. Like there was no way, especially in the gang world, like in that mentality, it's like, what you mean no? Boop, you know what I mean? And I didn't know where it came from until eventually I took a life coaching class that helped me understand that in order to help people, you have to heal yourself. Mm-hmm. But all this time I wasn't fully healed, but I was helping people. But in the process, I was healing through them as well. Yes. And so when I shared with that girl that story about me, she opened up more. Yes. Yeah. She opened up more.
There's so much power in that. There's like it's an uplifting feeling. I feel that every single cohort. Yeah. I get chills talking about it.
I know, I see it. I see it. I see the chills. Yeah. Yes. It's very powerful. And I remember when I was a young girl, I would say, why did this happen to me? Mm-hmm. Why? Yeah. And I know this sounds horrible, but I was a child. Yeah. Why couldn't he do that to her and him? Mm-hmm. Why me? Yeah. But now that I'm older and wiser, I said, you know what? God didn't approve of that because the devil comes to kill, steal, and destroy. And that's what he did temporarily with me. But I know that God allows things for reasons. So, and that reason, I was mad at God for years. Yeah. But now I reflect back and I'm like, God, you allow this happen because this is the world. Yes. That nobody loves you or respects you. They put you to the side. So now I know you're like that parent where I'm going to step back and just let you guys live your life. Yeah. And in the process of in that trauma, I realized that it didn't happen to me. It happened for me. Yes. And it happened for me because now I'm able to help the next young girls, with their trauma. Yes. And there's like some kind of bonding part versus me just not ever experiencing that trauma and say, I understand. No, you don't understand. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what Qualified is all about, to be honest. Yes. We're a 12-week career development academy that service survivors of trafficking. We also service domestic violence, sexual assault, and they meet 4 times a week, and it is a sisterhood. It is an uplifting spirit. We teach them a number of classes through our volunteer facilitators. It could be how to communicate, how to build your resume, how to set boundaries, what are boundaries, things like that. And so, but we have occupational therapists on staff, and so they work one-on-one to individualize their care. It could be going back to school. It could be getting a new job, getting in the career that you want. It could be in anything you want. I want you to know that, like, whatever you've been through, once you walk into the Qualified doors, you will be a thriver. You will be an overcomer. Yes. You will, because I always say too, you give us 12 weeks, we give you a lifetime.
I love that. Yes.
So that's the mission. Like, honestly, that's what it's all about.
Believing Before Seeing, a new book by Candace Barr, teaching you how to believe into existence. Available now for pre-order.
It's hard to see our community how it is, especially like on FIG. Like, it's hard.
Oh my gosh, yes.
It's hard, and so I just want to let everyone know, that's not it. Like, there's more to the world. There's so much beauty in the community besides that, and so
But because of the trauma in their minds and the manipulation, there's no self-worth, and they find that father figure or that man figure, and they just go with it. And that's why I never passed judgment. When I was younger, oh my God, I used to be so mean.
Me too.
Like, I was like, little nasty hoe. I would talk like that. But then when I look back and I said, wait a minute, who am I to judge? And then that's when I started learning through the nonprofit sector that there's a lot of young girls or young women that had horrible childhood trauma. And sometimes not everybody might have a strong mind like us.
Right.
to change and try to help others.
Yeah.
Some are just so deep into that depression and that ugliness and that dark space that it's hard for them to come out of it.
Yes.
So yeah, when I pass down Figueroa, I'm just like, oh gosh, like, okay, let me not pass judgment. And but you know, what is one of your, I'm gonna say the success story is gonna be second. But first, what is the worst thing that you've ever experienced helping, you know, whether it's a woman that has, you know, that's a prostitute or that's been through sex trafficking? What is like one of the worst stories, and what is one of the success stories you have, you know, in your field?
Okay. Worst stories as in like trying to get her resources?
Yeah, like, you know, like for us, like in gang intervention, for me, my worst scenario was, wow, let's bring me back. We had took our youth to the Dodger game.
Okay.
And we drove to drop every kid off. Okay. And I was the passenger and Ray was the driver. And one of our youth came out and I opened the door for him. And when he jumped out, a guy already was waiting for him with a gun. Wow. And at the time, I jumped in front of the boy. Yeah. Because I did not want this guy to kill him, because you could tell he was already ready. He came for the mission, and the mission was to murder this boy, his enemy. And I couldn't believe, but I did. I jumped in front of him because I felt to myself like, it sounds sad, but I prefer to have taken the bullet for this young boy than to tell the mother I didn't do anything and her son is dead in front of me. Yeah. So that's how I felt. And I wasn't even a parent at the time. And so the young man had a rosary. And I told him, I said, you believe in God? And he just looked at me. And I said, if you believe in God, when you go out and do Lucifer's work, you need to put that rosary in your shirt. Yeah. Because you're not doing God's work like that. Yeah. And he just looked at me kind of like, because he was lit. Yeah. But he looked at me kind of confused, but irritated. And I was like, can you just please let him be? I don't want to experience. We have youth in the truck, you know, in the van. We don't want to see this tonight. We just had a good time at Dodgers game. Please just spare him for me.
Raina, you saved his life.
I sure did. And that guy told him, like, you lucky. Yeah. This fucking woman is fucking protecting your ass. Yeah. You know, I'm going to catch you slipping next time. And he put his gun in his, you know, pocket and he fled on foot. And after that, I think I probably passed gas. And I was like, because I was like, oh my God.
I think like one of the hardest parts for me was doing outreach on FIG. Yes. You know, we give them a bottle of water. We give them prayers when they want to. But one night, it was around the Super Bowl area. Mm-hmm. It was, I mean, a whole bunch of women. And I mean, like, I was walking with my group and we were giving out sanitations, whatever they needed, even condoms in order for them to be protected. And all of a sudden, this white van just rose up. And I'm like, what's happening here? 8 women come out. And I'm just like, wow, this is what's happening in our community. And it was more women than ever. And that to me was like intense. Yeah.
Wow.
It just affects you on a whole different level.
I only can imagine. Yeah. I don't know, but I only can imagine, because it's like, you got how many women in that van and they're just dropping them off and they stay because they're scared. Yeah. Their mind is stuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so those are very challenging things, especially because it's like, oh, he loves me. You know, it's like, oh, you know, I've heard literally women say, I'm making $1,000 a day. What is $100 going to do for me? Like nothing. And I'm like, wow. Okay. So it's definitely those types of things that are challenging. Those are the types of situations where I'm like, okay, maybe let me try to find different resources, because I'm not a case manager.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm the program coordinator. And so my job is to, like, when you are ready to change your life, I'm here for you. I will uplift you in so many ways.
Yes, of course. Like a sisterhood.
Yeah. And I'm here from start to finish. From interview to graduation, I'm here.
And then what is your success story?
seeing every single woman come through those doors and feel uplifted and empowered after completing the academy.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, like, for example, like obviously when you get a woman off the street, like does her pimp come back to try to find her?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
It could be an abuser. Yeah. A perpetrator. Yeah. It definitely can be. But, we try to make it in order for her to feel safe, And so we have wonderful resources with Forgotten Children Inc., other organizations. CAST is another one, And so Journey Out is another one that we partner with in order to uplift the survivor. Yeah.
So let's say if somebody is watching, obviously our viewers, and they are currently prostituting on the street or a call girl or stuck in the lifestyle of the stripping world, but they have a man that is possessive towards them, right? Like, what can you offer? Like, what would it be the message for them to know? Like, that one day, if you decide to change your life, you can call
the trafficking hotline. And so in order for you to get out of that situation, I want the viewers to know, if you are in the life, to please know that there's something greater out there for you. No matter what it is. It could, whatever goal you want to accomplish, you want to start your own business, you want to go back to school, you want to get an education, you want to get your driver's license, whatever it is, those are huge accomplishments, and you can do it. You don't need no man to tell you that.
Exactly. I agree. Yeah. I agree. Independent is a nice thing. It really is. It really is. So with that to say, is there any inspiring words you would like to share with our viewers before we close out? Like, where they can find you on social media.
So you can email me at anna@qualifiedwomen.com, and you can find me on social media, AVENT _3. Yeah, thank you, Raina.
Yes.
Yeah, and you can also follow us on _qualified. Thank you for having me.
No, you're welcome. Well, I want to give a huge shout out to Chingona community. And when you guys follow us, I will put the website on there. If you're Latina or you're just a Chingona out there in the community that want to help others and make an impact in your city or state, I will make sure I put that information on the description box on our show. Well, this is Raina Carrillo signing out. Hope to see you next week. Until then, we're going to enjoy ourselves and continue talking. Yes. Thank you, Anna.